This tutorial is going to be showing you how to get started with your Cubist collage. So here's an example of a completed or partially completed Cubist collage where you're able to see basically the passing of time. You're able to see different angles of an object. Here's another example of a nice portrait using this Cubist collage style. And again, you're able to see movement from each of these different images, and you're able to see lots of details, so there's not just one set of eyes. Again, there's a couple different eyes, and the placement really works nicely. So getting started to create your Cubist collage, you're going to open a new document. So I'm going to go to File and then New. And when this screen comes up here, I'm going to go to Custom. And on the far right, I'm going to first of all title my image, so I'm going to call it Collage. And then I'm going to leave the height or the width at 8.5. I'm going to change the height to 9 because I want mine to be more of a square, but feel free to adjust yours maybe 8.5 by 11, which is regular paper size. But that's up to you deciding the dimensions. I would just make sure it's not too small, otherwise it will be pixelated. So try and keep it around 8.5. Resolution, I'm going to leave set to 300, and then I'm going to hit Create. Now starting out, I'm going to add a black background because this color tends to look the best with photos, but depending on your image you might want to change it to a different color. But I would start out with just a black background, so I'm going to use this paint bucket on the left side and fill my background. And then I'm going to start and begin placing my images. So I'm going to go to File and then Place Linked. And you want to find where you have all of your images saved for your collage. Now that I found my photos, I'm going to kind of search through them till I find an image that shows most of what I'm going to be collaging together. So here's an image, nice front view, so I can kind of see the size that I want to create everything. So it's placed. Now I'm going to hit check. And the next step is to decide how much of this picture you want to keep and how much you want to crop. So for this specific picture, I might want to keep just the eyes in my image. So I'm going to use my rectangular selection tool, and I'm going to select just that one section that I want to keep. One thing I would stay away from is selecting too small of a section, so being really up close with just the eye and then really up close with just the nose, because that usually doesn't tend to go together very well. So what I would try to do is select part of the background along with part of your image. And that works well where you're able to see part of the background along with part of the picture. So now that I have what I want selected, I'm going to come down to the bottom right hand corner and add a mask. So I'm going to add a layer mask, and this automatically gets rid of or masks off everything that I don't want in my picture. And that way it's not deleting my original image. So if I don't like what I did here, I can go ahead and delete my layer mask and it will go back to how it was. Now I'm going to just continue and add my next image. So File, Place Linked, and find another image that I want to work with. Try and maybe find a picture from a different angle. So here's one of the eyes from a different angle that I can work with. And maybe for this one, I want just part of the eye. So I'm going to grab my rectangular selection tool, use part of the eye. Again, I'm including a little bit of that background there. And then I'm going to mask everything else off. And now I'm going to decide the placement that I want for this. One thing I would stay away from is putting the eye in the exact spot, especially if you're doing a person, placing it in the exact spot as the other eye, just because then it's going to make the face look kind of off and unproportionate. So you want to make it obvious that this was taken from another picture and placed here. So you could maybe put it above off in the corner here. Something else you can think of is adjusting the size of your images. So if you hit Command T on your keyboard, you can change the size of your photo. This is really important though. You need to hold down Shift when you're changing the size of your image. That way it keeps your photo in proportion. If I don't hold down Shift, it could stretch and become too thin or too wide. So again, make sure you hold down Shift so you have those accurate proportions. So then I would go ahead and just continue adding images. So remember, you need a total of at least 10 pictures for your collage. As you're going, you'll notice that your pictures definitely still need your Photoshop workflow, so they still need edited, which you could either wait until you're finished and put the entire collage together and edit the entire collage at once. However, if you feel like an individual picture needs its own edit, such as this background picture looks like it could use more contrast, you can edit that photo individually. So if you look at your image, there's this little paper clip which represents a link. So that means that my photo is linked. So if I double click on it and edit my image, so I can go to Image, Adjustments, and then I can go to Levels, so try and do the Photoshop workflow. So I'm going to adjust the levels a little bit here, then hit OK. If I go up to File and then hit Save, it will save my photo, and when I open my collage back up, you'll notice that my image keeps that same edit. So what I just edited over here shows up automatically since it's linked. So go ahead and continue adding, again, at least 10 images. Just a couple other things I want to mention. Here's a nicely put together collage. You'll notice that with these pictures, they're placed nicely so you have some of the sky kind of repeated. So you have the sky up here and then a little bit of the sky down here. So you have that space where the viewer's eye is able to jump from one piece to the next. There's also a part of the sunflower petals on the far left corner, so kind of spaced away from the petals over here. And again, that's creating that jump. So you go from the sunflower to the petals over here. Then you also have that repetition of the smaller flowers in the background, and that helps to create that jump and movement as well. Something that tends to look nice is having some of the images come off the edge of the page, so you have just a little bit of that black around the outside. So as you're putting things together, try and space it apart, overlap different areas, try turning things on the side to get different movement and spacing.